Welcome to the Bridging the Gap podcast, where our mission is to encourage, equip, and empower every woman on her faith journey with Jesus Christ. Today, we are honored to hear from co-lead pastor, leadership coach, and founder of Vivid Academy, Caroline Durocher-Bergeron, as she has a conversation with our podcast host, Mykelti Blum. In this episode, you will hear about why Sabbath is so important and how to practically honor it in our busy world. You'll also hear about the terrible triple O's and Caroline's profound quotes, including radical ownership of our lives is the foundation of soul care. We hope you enjoy this podcast. Welcome to the podcast, the Bridging the Gap podcast. I am so excited to talk with you today. I just have been looking over, your website, your Facebook group, and you are a busy woman. First off, you were from being a director of, Vivid Academy and coaching, doing life coaching and pastoring. Like, you are a busy person, but I am so excited to have you on the podcast and just to get to chat more today.
It's just a delight to be here.
Well, before we jump in, I know Kristen introduced you a little bit for all of our listeners, but would you like to just introduce yourself and give us a little taste of, who you are, what you're working on these days, and then we'll go from there.
Absolutely. My name is Caroline Durocher-Bergeron. And it's funny because when we get married in Quebec, we cannot take our husband's name. So my legal name is Durocher, but everybody called me Bergeron. So that's an interesting fun fact about me. I am the mother of three teenagers / young adult. I just love doing that. And I've been married with Pascal for 25 years. Those are the things most important in my life. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I've been in pastoral ministry for 25 years. Part of my role as serving churches in the British Columbia district of the Pentecostal Assemblies of Canada for 10 years was to travel around the province, doing a lot of leadership development. And in the area of family ministry, moving after we moved to Quebec to pastor, my husband and I co-pastor a church called Église Carrefour in Sherbrooke. And now I'm the director of Vivid Academy, which is a leadership center for women that want to step into everything that God has for them.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I saw that when it was in a description of the Vivid Academy. It said empowering and equipping women. And the Bridging the Gap mission statement is also to encourage, equip, and empower every woman in her faith journey. So I loved that there was that similar language and just wanting to equip leaders, wanting to equip women and, believing, I'm sure you have the same heart of that every woman has the potential to be a leader. And so how do we train women up in those areas? So I am just super excited to talk with you more today. And I could just listen to your accent all day. So there is also
Thank you.
that perk for me. So, but, let's just dive in here today. What we really wanted to dive into this topic of soul care in the real world. And I really, really love talking about soul care. And I think some people hear the difference of like, okay, what's self-care versus soul care? And I think they're different, but what are your thoughts on that distinguishing factor?
Well, it's a fabulous question. First, because the soul is the essence of the person, right? Self-care could be how do you take care of yourself? It's kind of the general principle, but the soul is the essence of the person. And it includes the mind, which is your ability to think and reason, your emotion, those are your beliefs, your attitudes, your feelings, and your memories, and your will, which is the ability to choose, but also to make confident decisions, right? That's the soul that have those three aspects. So really, soul care is the process by which you examine the states of your heart, of your emotion, and really bring it in light of God's light and really identity and his will for our life. And it's profoundly biblical because there's most people know Proverb 4 verse 23 that says, above all, guard your heart, for everything do flows from it. But in Hebrew, the term heart actually means the inner man, the mind and the will. So it's really above all, guard your soul. It's really what it means. So, and I being very always driven, tend to be busy in life. Circumstances was brought into my life that just forced me to take radical ownership of my life in the area of soul care and move beyond self-care to really care for my soul, which my mind, my emotions, and my will.
Yeah. When you started diving into learning more about soul care for yourself, what were things that you found maybe like hesitancies or resistance for really taking care of your soul? Like, I'll give you an example for myself. I struggle with what I call productivity guilt, where I have a really hard time taking the Sabbath because I lay there and I'm sitting on my couch trying to relax and 1,000 things are going through my mind. And I could easily be sitting and just absorbing the word of God, be reading and reading. But I'm like, I didn't do laundry yet. I didn't do grocery shopping. I have to make that doctor appointment. Like, I can't even allow myself to rest. And I feel like that is a huge barrier for me in taking care of my soul care and filling my cup. So was there any of those for you as you were starting to get into these new rhythms?
Absolutely. Actually, I got into those rhythms. I remember I was at a pivotal point in my life. I was traveling, speaking a lot. I just finished my master's in leadership. So there was a lot going on in my life. And in this season, I've discovered that 3 of my kids have some sort of special needs. So 2 have learning challenges. Another one was diagnosed with a sickness that took a lot of time, a doctor's appointment and stuff. And the other one just tend to be more positional by nature, took a lot of nurturing and accompaniment. And I remember one night just melting down in my kitchen, and I'm pretty strong, I'm pretty tough, but I had a grown-up meltdown. Have you ever had a grown-up meltdown?
Oh yeah, every day.
Yes, I can relate. And I remember just being on my knees and say, God, you picked the wrong mom for these kids. Like, this is too much work. It's too hard. Like, they have so many needs, and I'm not the right person for them. And the Holy Spirit just so gently came to me and whispered in my ear, imagine how much I trust you. First answer, first response. And that shift brought so much healing in my heart. And second, he said, Caroline, you need to take radical ownership of your life. You need to take radical ownership of your soul. Maybe you cannot change circumstances, but you are responsible for caring for your soul, because that's what I'm giving you. And there's so many times that people that I'm meeting, they feel overwhelmed, especially women in leadership or women just in general. They want to, they feel overwhelmed, overworked, overcommitted, and a bit unfulfilled, right? And they long for more, but yet they don't see how they can make space in their life for more, or they even feel guilty for resting. So they're like, work. But even when I'm resting, I'm not really resting. So I'm not really enjoying rest. I don't even know how to stay still and enjoy rest. So better work. At least that I'm being productive, right? Yeah. So it's like a circle that really, we can all fall. It's a trap, right? We can all fall into, because rest it's actually like the commandment. You were talking about Sabbath. I'm very passionate about Sabbath. It's a commandment that was given just very close to you shall not murder. Yes, it's the only one we glorify ourselves in breaking. I'm so busy, and the God really revealed to me, as you said, there's a lot on my plate, but I really believe that I'm in the point of my life where I'm able to sort a lot of things out, care for my soul. So I'm less busy and more fruitful. Sometimes we're busy, but not necessarily fruitful, actually doing the things that God is asking us to do. We're distracted. We're just restless. It's that restlessness inside of us. So soul care invites us to really analyze ourselves, what's going on in our mind, in our emotions, in our even a will. What do I really want? We talk about boundaries. I listened to one of your podcasts before. You're talking about boundaries too, right? That has to do with soul care, right? Put boundaries within yourself and in relationship with others. And, even when women say, I know what I don't want, but I don't know what I want, that is a sign of a tired soul. because when you're unable to make confident decision and have discernment to know what's the next move, that is at the level of the will, right? The will is in the soul. So everything has to do with emotion, thought process, even memories, dealing with decision-making process. All of that has to do with the soul. So it's more than just singing Kumbaya. It's really a way we live our lives.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. In your experience with just working with women in leadership, what were some of those common obstacles that Christian women are facing when they're trying to prioritize self-care in just this outrageously busy lives that we all live in?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to start with the story, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, please.
Have you ever driven a car that was out of alignment?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know exactly where I'm going with that, right?
So you got forearms by the end.
Yes, and I have for a few weeks. But, I kept procrastinating fixing it because I thought I was saving time, I was saving money, I was saving trouble. And I just didn't want to take the time to bring the car to the garage and be with 3 young kids and not having the car for a week, right? Or a couple of days. But I knew that the car was not designed to operate that way. But honestly, I tolerated it because I became familiar with it. I just became familiar with it. So I forgot what it felt like to drive in a perfectly aligned vehicle. And after a while, getting around became really challenging. So to go in a straight line, I had to overcompensate by pulling the steering wheel to the left, and it was shaking. And then you talk about, your wrists are aching and your arms are abnormally big. And it's like, that's not normal. And I knew that if I let go for just a moment, I would end up in the ditch. And driving this way was not safe. It was insane and clearly not working. So many women in leadership project the image that everything is fine when in fact, deep down, their life are dangerously out of alignment. They feel, like I said, the triple O's. I call it the terrible triple O's, the overwhelmed, overworked, and overcommitted. And then how do they keep their life balance between their kids, their marriage, their career, their social life, their ministry, and even their relationship with God? Well, they overcompensate. So they adopt coping strategies that give them a false sense of comfort and control alongside an ever fear of failure and rejection. And the thing is that when we live like that, there's no margin for error. And I found myself at that point, after I was in a car accident, try to go back to work without being fully recovered because, I'm so busy. I'm too busy to be sick. I'm too busy to have to recover from a car accident. And I remember at some point I said, Jesus, if you came to give me life to the fullest, then why am I constantly in a survival mode? Why am I striving so much? Why am I so run down? And I know that I'm not the only one that has felt this way. And I know that some people may be listening today, and that's exactly how they're feeling right now. So there's certain things that it's just the lack of margin of breathing room in our life when we can't quite even hear ourselves think. So we're often more in a reactive mode than in a reflective mode when we can actually become fully aware of what's going on inside our heart, in our thoughts, and in our decisions we make on a daily basis.
Yeah, I really am just soaking in what you said about just how we can become so familiar with it. And just as that go, go, go mentality, I don't think I've ever heard that before. And that truly is just really resonating. Like, yes, we do get super familiar with the go, go, go. And then when you're forced to stop, that's why it feels so unnatural. It feels like I can't do this. And just the other night I was making dinner and I was like, go, 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 timer's going off, a dog's barking, kids yelling. We're in the middle of potty training. So I have to watch him like a hawk. Yeah. And my husband just grabbed the spoon from me in the kitchen. And he said, just take a moment, literally just take a moment. And he wouldn't let me do anything except for just go sit and take a moment. And it felt so odd. It just felt against that rhythm and against that routine. And I went back to that fact of like, I forgot what this was like. I forgot what it was like to just give ourselves moment, and how important is it to, even in those couple of minutes, you just feel so refreshed and feel just re-energized. But what are some other strategies that you really encourage and teach, to women as you're navigating soul care, and just practical ways women can incorporate that into their daily lives?
I love that. And really the foundation of soul care, it's radical ownership of our life. Like people have been coaching with me. It's just like, you can't really blame circumstances or even the lack of time. Because one of the, I have a lot of different programs that I do with that I help women journey through, develop greater self-care and balance and create rhythms of rest in their life. But I start with helping them replace escapism activities with soul care practices. Okay. So escapism is really the tendencies that we have to seek distraction from unpleasant realities and our daily routine. It's our way. We just want to check out. We seek entertainment. And the difference between escapism and soul care is that escapism distracts us and disconnects us from our present reality, where soul care helps us to fully connect and focus our attention to what we need to become our best selves in that very moment. So one of the exercises I encourage women to do is to make a list of all the activities that they do. It could be from watching their favorite TV show to exercising, and even one of the things that I put down the first time I did this exercise, I love walking down the aisle of emcees, I don't know, Marshall could be that in the States, they may have different name, but just looking for the perfect pillow that may do kind of a makeover for my living room, even or that vase or something, right? That's going to change a whole decor, like just to kind of escape. So make the list of all the activities that you do, and just go before the Lord and say, which one of these activities do I do to disconnect myself from my reality? And which one actually help me to fully rest? And reading could do both. Or watching TV could do both, right? Watching TV could be your favorite show, could be a form of self-care. And it doesn't have to be it helps you connect with God, but it just helps you rest, right? But it's the going into the Netflix like those series. You don't even have to stand and get the remote and the next episode start. Is that loop, right? It's that vortex on social media. You're just looking at one post and you're like 2 hours later, what happened? You know what I mean? That's exactly what I'm talking about. So even reading could be a form of self-care or escapism. Training could be a form of self-care or escapism. So make the list of all the activities that you're doing and say, which one actually I use it to disconnect myself from my reality. And I encourage you to really reduce them radically, because once you're fully aware of how much you escape, you're going to say, there's no way I don't have time to actually care for my soul. Because I do have a lot of time. I just spending on things that just disconnect me instead of allow me to be fully present in my life and things that actually nurture my soul. Does it make sense?
Oh, yeah. That is an incredible way to look at it, and just great advice of thinking through what disconnects me and what replenishes me in a lot of ways. And I'm even making a list in my head of like, I've got a couple on that disconnect side for sure. But as we're starting to, we make our list, we're thinking through, what is your advice just for how we practically are actually scheduling that? Because obviously, if you're a really busy person, you can't just be like, all right, boom, total life change. We're going to do 2 hours every day where I'm taking soul care. Sometimes that's just not realistic. But what are ways we can slowly start to implement that into our schedule? Maybe it's like once a day, 30 minutes, or like just on weekends. Like, what's your kind of advice for that?
One of the best way to introduce new habits is to merge it with an existing habit, with something you already do. Like for me, I'm coaching a lot. I'm teaching a lot. That's my office. That's my real life. That's what I do. That's where I spend most of my time. So I do go on walks, at least 3 walks a day, even if it's 10 minutes, just because I need to have a fresh brain between clients and different things. And it used to be that I'm optimizer, maximizer, right? And I'm a productivity coach too. So I help women be productive. So I would tend to do, while I'm going for my walk, I'm going to listen to a podcast or different things like that. But then I realized that I need to identify the kind of rest that I need. There are times where we just need to have mental rest. A lot of women, especially when you have little kids at home and they're very loud, you need to have that quiet, that noise that's outside, right? But also that ongoing commentary that keeps going inside your head and fully rest. So for me, just going on my walks, this is where I practice just silence. I walk and I sometimes will call friends, but I rarely call I'm just like, it's my time for pray. It's my time for even processing my emotions, processing my thoughts, processing the decisions that I want to make. That's a way to care for your soul, right? Is create breathing room, even for your mind, for your brain. For me, I realized that in my life, the mental rest is huge. Again, you can need social rest. You can need sensory rest. There's a lot of different kind of rest that you need. But I found for women to create like space for mental rest is huge. And sometime when my kids were little, it was literally locking myself in the bathroom. I'm putting myself in a timeout, like I've done that several times, but I found kids, or when I was nursing my youngest, I would be nursing a lot more often. Like the nursing could last 5 minutes, but I really like half an hour in my bed and just, just stretching those moments. So it's really like you can merge things you already do. If for you need to wash yourself, obviously, and taking a bath is very relaxing. Then add a candle and add some worship music. I want to get closer to the Lord. I want to spend some time in worship, but I feel it's so much out and about. Well, you're already taking your bath. How about you mix that together? So it's about, seeing the things in your life that you have to do anyway. And how can you do it in a way that you're also gentle with your soul? And that's another thing, is that you need to have radical ownership, but radical compassion towards yourself, right? As you're learning to do this, because the enemy always come and whisper guilt, and whatever we try to do, we never quite do it right. So it's really going based on the Bible say the unforced, come with me, get away with me, and I will show the unforced rhythms of grace. That's in Matthew, but it's from the Message. And say, what does the unforced rhythms of grace look like for me at this very moment? And if we just can kind of renew our mind with this thought, what does the enforced rhythms of grace look like? Then we're not there to perform self-care. We're there to renew our mind and say, Jesus, how can I invite you in this very moment, right? And it's really a partnership with him. He loves when we care, because it's Paul say, I pray that you will grow, that you will get healthier as the state of your soul also gets healthier. So it's God's will.
Have you heard of the BTG Leadership Conference? Bridging the Gap believes every woman is a potential leader, and we have designed this conference to invest in your leadership development. Whether you are an experienced marketplace, ministry, or community leader who is wanting to continue to grow, or you would like to begin developing skills and networks as a future leader, this almost 24-hour event is for you. Mark your calendar for February 9th and 10th, 2024 at Lake Geneva Christian Center in Alexandria, Minnesota. We'll have main sessions with speaker, pastor, and writer Portia Allen, multiple workshops, story time with Pamela Steinle, networking opportunities, exhibitors, and fun, all to encourage your leadership potential. In addition to our regular Cozy Up North activities, we're adding a horse-drawn wagon shuttle to the Bridge Shop. We'll also have the breakfast buzz, bingo, and you can get your headshot updated by a photographer. It's going to be a power-packed, fabulous event that you and your team won't want to miss. This year, you can also extend your stay by adding Thursday and or Saturday night lodging onto your ticket. This opportunity allows for more time for reflection and strategizing with your team, or simply for extra rest. Register individually or as a group at mnbtg.org/leadership. That's mnbtg.org/leadership. We'll see you there.
And I think it's such a learned behavior. In a lot of ways, it might not feel natural to you at first. It might not feel, great when you're like, okay, I've only got 10 minutes. I feel like I'll just take a quick shower. But like, no, what does it look like to actually sit in the bath and relax? And with any learned behavior, like I said, it's going to take a little bit of time to get into that habit. And, we're talking about that partnership with Jesus. And I think that we also, in a lot of ways, have to partner with the people in our lives too, when it comes to our soul care. I need a lot of accountability when it comes to taking care of myself because I can forget. And although soul care is a very individual journey and it's taking care of yourself, what are your thoughts on just how we can include other people, whether it's our spouse or just anybody that's a significant person in our life to help us in this soul care journey?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, that's what I do as a coach, right? So I help people create a wellness plan. I think a wellness plan also needs to go with a boundaries plan because when we talk about the will, right? So the will, it has to do with caring for our will is also the ability to say, this is okay, this is not okay. Those are things that they're decision that I make. You put boundaries around other people, put boundaries within yourself, because if you don't put boundaries within yourself, you will never have Sabbath. It's related. So it's very closely related. So usually when I help people to create a soul care plan, they also have a boundaries plan. Even how do you deal with very draining people or people that are very explosive, and what's the action step to deal with these people so that you don't end up being always draining your relationship. But create a wellness plan is huge. First, if you were to, and bring it very practical. So for me, as far as Sabbath, what I do with my clients is that I help them first truly understand the value of the Sabbath. Like when it is crazy to imagine that when the commandment was given for people to have the Sabbath, when Jesus talked about that, that how important the Sabbath is, we had 20 generation. But before Moses, there was 20 generation that lived in slavery, which is crazy. When God gave and say, no, now it's time for freedom. So Sabbath is about being free. It's about celebrating freedom. It's not a list of rules to not to do and stuff. It's about really dwelling in the Lord and celebrating our freedom in Christ, which is it's a beautiful thing. Bring it down, for example. That Sabbath. What I do with people is just to identify. So when exactly are you going to take your Sabbath? Create that rhythm in your life. And if you had an appointment at the doctor, if you have tickets to go see a musical theater show, which I'm a musical theater geek, so I will never, like I went to see Hugh Jackman and Sutton Foster on Broadway with my daughter. I took her this January. I would have never just like, well, that's fine. I'm just going to book something else. Somebody else needs me. No, I'm like, this is really important. I want to see Hugh Jackman live. So I'm clear my schedule to be able to do that. But yet with our time of Sabbath, it's like everything become a priority, right? So treat it as something sacred and you decide when is it going to start? When is it going to end? And it's okay that it's like from dinner to dinner. Even if you can't, like you said, I don't, with the schedule, all of that, you can start like, a half a day on Monday, half a day on Thursday. It's better than nothing, right? We don't want to be religious about it, but just write it down, the time, protect it, and to choose other things that you want to do during your Sabbath and the things that you will not do during your Sabbath. I have a rule in my wellness plan, soul care plan, that I will not go on Costco on my Sabbath. And I broke that rule last Saturday, and I regretted it so much. It was the worst. I was like so drained at the end because there's nothing more draining than to go to Costco when you need to do a big grocery. And then why do we do this during your Sabbath? You can do it during your window of time, right? So I realized going to Costco drains me, and it's like work against the goal of my Sabbath. So what are the things you will do? Maybe people with which you would choose not to interact during your Sabbath. Maybe in good relationship, or it's more strained relationship with a family member, it's okay if they call, that you call them the day after. Okay. That could happen at any time, but for you to protect your time and your energy during Sabbath. And also, how can you prepare? How can you prepare for the Sabbath? It could be, I'm going to make some food the day before, so I don't need to prepare. It could be if some of you Sunday, I'm going to make sure that all our clothes is ready for church, like whatever it looks like. So it's just to have a very practical plan and then share that plan with somebody. It could be a coach, it could be a spouse, it could be a best friend, and somebody that can actually, and here's how we develop accountability, is that you create the question that can be answered by yes. Ask you, for example, did you observe your Sabbath on Saturday during the day, last Saturday, right? So you create the question for the other person, you give the other person the question, and they ask you in a way that it's yes or no. It's not an open question, right? And it's not about guilt or anything. And if something, for whatever circumstance, the person didn't do, you didn't do it, you can just, the other person can ask, what got in the way? What got in the way? That you can learn and readjust, because we can make plan and realize that plan is just doesn't work and set me up for failure. So it's okay. There's grace to readjust, but just to have clarity on what do I want to do? What would I not want to do? How can I prepare for it?
Yeah. That's super good. How do you feel about people having a Sabbath on a different day of the week, every week? So when someone I listened to on a podcast, she was like, my Sabbath is different every week. Like, it's not always on Sunday. It's not always on Monday. Kind of going back to how, like, you have things just come up in life, especially if you have kids and activities and you have things like this, but looking at the start of every week and saying, like, okay, so Tuesday, I'm going to do it. Wednesday. Do you like that? Or do you feel like that might get easily pushed off then? I'm just curious in your thoughts.
It's going to depend on your personality and on your schedule. There are times where some women may have a spouse that works shift. They work on shift, or they work on shift, or they have, some that may be separated, that don't have the kids all the time. It may look different. So it's really a matter, you can test it, but see long-term. What it works for me, I change it. It's not always the same day. It's I would say 75% the same day. But if I'm speaking or I have to travel, for me, that's when I tend to skip my Sabbath. It is I'm speaking or I'm traveling and doing ministry where I'm like, well, it's just, I have to get prepared to do that. So it's developed still the discipline, but it's you do you. There's nothing religious about it. I have some people that were really, really struggling, and they started by one morning a week, one afternoon a week, and one evening a week, right? That they can really devote it, and that it's better than what they did before. So it's about setting time aside to let go of everything. Even it's interesting because we are to enter the Sabbath as if all the items of our to-do list were already done. So that's a different mindset, and it takes a lot of discipline even to get there. Just say, no, I'm just going to go as if I'm fully loved, fully accepted, I'm free. And yeah, I mean, Sabbath is one of the many soul care practices, but
Yeah. And I love what you said about having people in your corner to check in with you. And again, it's not about guilt, it's about accountability. And sometimes you just got to let them know. If there's one person that reaches out to you a lot, like, hey, can't do it today, or your spouse said, like, okay, I don't ask me to do anything today. I'm resting, I'm doing this. And we can't always get away with it with our kids. They tend to always need something. So that's, you can't tell them all the time, leave me alone, no one talked to me today. But what are some other just stories maybe that you've had from working with women in this area? Obviously, you coach a lot of women and help them through this, but just any other stories you wanted to share about what it looks like and what maybe women you've coached, their journey with soul care and how that's been successful?
A lot of people, when they come to me, they feel close to the end of their rope. Sometimes not necessarily at the end of the rope. Either they feel totally overwhelmed, like I mentioned, the triple O, that's what I hear all the time, like overwhelmed, overworked, or overcommitted. So you have people that come to me like that, or they know that the God is calling them to a higher level assignment and they need to expand. Like they need to expand their leadership capacity. They need to manage their self-leadership in order to be able to lead themselves and to be a person that can handle their next mantle, right? That can handle their next assignment. So those are a lot of people I tend to work with. And yes, I have from Julie that was a mom that stayed at home, but she felt very overwhelmed at home. And she felt also tired all the time, but she was sleeping fairly well. And then when we were talking together, she realized that it's we look at all the different kind of rest that she needed, and she realized that she really need sensory rest. So she needed rest with time, without her device, without noise, without background noise. So she was able to implement strategies that really helps her feel now free, and she can, like, her stress dramatically lowered, right? Because she was able to identify that's actually the kind of rest that I need, because sleep is a byproduct of rest. Have you ever been so exhausted and unable to sleep? We often say you're tired. Well, sleep more. It's not always the solution. You know, if you say to your husband, I'm so tired, well, go to bed early. That is not necessarily working like that all the time, because we can have different kind of rest. Another story is Crystal. So Crystal, a busy mom of 4 kids, full-time teacher, and she just knew that God was calling her to a new level in her leadership. And this is when she got approached by her church to be groomed to become the new lead pastor of a church. That's in Quebec. She's one of my clients. And when she kind of knew that was what God wanted for her, but she came to me and said, I'm at the end of my rope. Like, I can't even barely manage the life that I have right now. How can I prepare for what God has in the future for me? And it's been just beautiful journey of helping her set boundaries and helping her first have clarity on what God's calling her to be, who God creating her to be, and what to do, you know, with her personality or core values or passion or vision for her life, all of that. It's to discover what God's calling you to do it in a way that's sustainable. That's often a missing piece, and doing in a way that we trade busyness for strategic fruitfulness, because we can be so busy, I mentioned, with our to-do list, but we're not necessarily fruitful in what God's actually asking us to do. And that's a big difference. And I've seen her now, and is about to take the lead pastoring of that church. And it's been beautiful to see her from, I want to give up everything. I don't know how I can do it, to actually, it's a matter of self-leadership, right? Before being able to lead organization or lead people, you say, I need to be able to lead myself to the highest level that I can. So beautiful stories. People coming are sometimes, again, at home with their kids, sometimes in the position of transition. We have new moms. We have people that just retired from the workforce and say, what am I doing? People too that are in life transition that said, I thought everything in life was about having kids and being married. Now I have this, and I have that longing for more. That's not enough. Like, I know that God has more for me than that. So there's so many women, so many examples I could give, but it's just a delight to be able to journey alongside them.
Oh, I bet. And I just think that, you know, and the similarity in all the stories that you're sharing is it takes a lot of deep reflection to figure this out and to really process, because everyone's story is different. It's not going to be like, well, this lady said, you know, this works for her, so it's going to work for me, or something like that. Like, it takes the processing, and it takes that attunement with God, and like, okay, God, show me where I'm taking on too much. Show me where I need to maybe take on more in some area of getting into the word more, spending more time in prayer and worship. And it's going to be such an individual journey for every person, but it's awesome that there are people like you out there that are just helping people discover it. Because sometimes we have to get out of our own heads. We have to get out of our minds and to process and to figure that out. But as we're wrapping up here, is there any kind of final pieces of advice or encouragement you have for women in this area of soul care?
Mm-hmm. I would say to have radical compassion towards yourself, to see yourself the way God sees you, which is never harshly, it's never condemning, it's never demeaning, right? So even with our emotions are tunnels with the beginning and an end. And when we get stuck too long in that tunnel, that's why we get into trouble, right? Or that's why we get more anxiety or depression and stuff. But all of that, like there is just so much. The biggest part of the learning is just learning wherever you're at to say, invite Jesus in the moment. Just invite Jesus in the moment, and he always makes room. He always makes room. He makes time. And it just is, okay, God, where are you in this situation? And how can I partner with you? What do you have to say? And he revealed himself so powerfully, so often. I created a free gift for all your audience, people that are listening. It's called 5 to Thrive, and I share 5 strategies to live healthy lives. So I talk about boundaries, managing people's expectation. I also talk about identifying the kind of rest that you need. Anyway, it's a free resource I want to give anyone who would be interested.
Oh, that is amazing. Thank you for doing that. And I'm sure we'll link that in the show notes for people to listen to and find access to that. But thank you. That is awesome. I'm sure a lot of people will find that so helpful. And I just want to hear too a little bit about Vivid Academy and what is that and how people can learn more about it and just to find more of your resources and get connected.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Well, they can visit my website at carolinebergeron.ca. So it's CarolineBergeron.ca. And yes, it's a leadership academy for women that really, it's all about helping women discover what God's calling them to do, helping them to create rhythms that sustain them, and also, again, trading a busyness for strategic fruitfulness. So we have courses that we give with leadership certification, also with different theme. One theme is more about establishing, again, that sustainable pace of life, to getting the rest that you need to get that, create that soul care plan. The other one is actually helping you to create, it's called Reset. It helps you create that decision-making framework. To really give you a tool to make clear decisions based on your personality, your mission, your vision, your strengths, and bottom line, your calling. And the last one, that's the one that I'm actually starting this fall. It's Rise Up, and it's all about helping women to take on their dream, imagine their dream, turn into a vision, because a dream is an idea, right? A vision is a clear picture. Then to say, how am I on a daily basis doing things that actually help me fulfill my long-term vision by managing time, energy, priorities. It's everything that I wish I would have learned 25 years ago when I started ministry. And I've done studies and stuff, but I've learned the hard way by making many mistakes. And I just designed something so comprehensive that anyone that says, I want to grow in my leadership, and that takes them one step at a time. It's in a group coaching format. Well, you can have the curriculum alone, but it's just so beautiful to be with like-minded women, to grow and to share and to lean into the Lord together. It's just a beautiful environment. And I've done a lot of things in my life that God has allowed me to do, but this is by far the things that is my mark on earth. You know what I mean? Like it's beautiful to feel that this is my legacy on earth, and seeing the transformation that is happening in the life of women that rise up all over the world, really, with greater confidence in their calling and stepping with bolder faith and impact, is just the delight of my heart.
Oh, I love that so much. I got goosebumps. Yeah, I just listened to that. Well, thank you so much for just taking the time to share about all this. I know that it is going to encourage and empower so many women who might have been just sitting and stuck in that season of, I'm taking on too much. I'm overworked. I'm overcommitted, all the things that you said. And I really just hope that this blesses them and that they check out your resources. And I think that just all sounds so equipping and empowering.
Beautiful. And I also have a free, if they want to stay in touch with me, I have a free Facebook group called Christian Women Who Lead. And I, like this week, for example, I'm doing a 5-day challenge, get it done challenge, how to get organized structure. I talk about realizing your priorities today, actualizing priorities before this recording. So lots of resources. You can check me out there.
Well, great. Thank you again so much for sharing all of this. And it was just an honor to have you on the podcast.
Thank you for your time. It's just so easy to talk to you. Such a delight. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Bridging the Gap podcast. We were honored to hear from Caroline Durocher-Bergeron on soul care in the real world. Caroline is offering a free gift to listeners, a handbook that shares 5 strategies to thrive in life and leadership. Download it now at 5tothrive.org. That's the number 5, the word 2, thrive.org. Connect with her through Vivid Academy at vividacademy.org and by following Caroline Bergeron Coaching on Instagram. You can also find more on Bridging the Gap at mnbtg.org by downloading the Bridging the Gap app through your app store or by following MNBTG on social media. We also invite you to take a moment to rate and review this podcast to help others find this resource as well. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to being with you next time on the Bridging the Gap podcast.